Hello and welcome back to the Nordic Championship here in the Monster Energy DreamHack Studios. I'm full of energy right now. We just had a pretty fantastic game there between Bifrost and Hybrid. Sorry, Bifrost and Hybrid. I'm looking at.
Can I start again?
We had a fantastic game there versus Bifrost and Hybrid. Hybrid were able to get in control. It slipped out of their fingers a little bit, but they were able to pull it back when it counted.
Yeah, I think Bifrost's issue is that they try to play scaling without a scaling composition.
Yeah.
That's what worked for them on day one, is having stuff that would come online later. But here, that was what Hybrid had. And Bifrost just waited a little bit too long. They had some good attempts, but overall, the power of the Ziggs, the power of the Gangplank just were too much for them.
It was a very, very close matchup. And speaking of close matchups, we have to look at our next two teams. I'm mostly looking at Dusty here. It's Dusty versus Atlando. Did I get it?
Dusty had a close matchup against Nordic. I think that's as close as you can get.
Yeah.
3 inhibitors down, open Nexus.
15% left on the Nexus.
Yeah, and they managed to lose. Credit to Coincidence, who made it so close on the Yorick, but it was literally last second. It looked like Nordic lost it, and then they won a team fight, and that was it. And they just managed to end off
literally what we just had in the last game, except instead of losing the next team fight and losing the game, they actually continued to win.
Yeah, really rough one. I think there was some great components to Dusty. I think they made a very ambitious Victor pick, which was rough into the Diana and the Jarvan, and yet Legions managed to perform so well in it. He was ganked countless times, and that just didn't set him behind. He still managed to remain relevant. He still managed to withstand the pressure and become a monster later in the game. Coincidence, obviously, on the Yorick, they played a little bit more around him. They were willing to give up objectives to give strength to the Yorick. And then it wasn't just the fact that he was a menace in the side lane. Even when he joined team fights, he just demolished everyone. I mean, one of the limitations was their opponent had a lot of melee champions. Nordic couldn't do too much into the Yorick, but in the end, they did manage to just win out the game.
The question for me is, do we feel like this game's going to get put on Coincidence's back, or do you think maybe Dusty are just a step above Atlando?
I think Dusty, their 0-1 matching score with Atlando doesn't exactly represent how they play.
Yeah.
I think Dusty are one of our top teams here, and I think they should be able to win this against Atlando. They obviously will be sort of reeling a little bit from yesterday when they lost up against Nordic. They should have, by all means, won that matchup. But I expect them to come into this one pretty confident, but they shouldn't let that get to their heads because, I mean, they should have won yesterday.
Yeah, you know, both of these teams not got a single win. So the winner of this matchup is going to be able to get themselves their first win of the Nordic Championship and go into week 2 with a 50% win rate. But, you know, coming out 0-2 is going to feel a lot worse than 1-1. Because then you feel like you've really been put on the back foot coming into the first week.
I think as well, Dusty going up against Nordic, that could have been them toppling one of the rosters that a lot of people see as the best team in the Nordics right now. So it would have been a massive confidence boost. And they no longer have Sose in the jungle. They have Dakrek. So a little bit of a switch up there, but the same roster coming over for Atlando. Did see a lot of good things around the mid-jungle coming out from Atlando, so hopefully looking towards them to maybe show some strength here. Blue side for Dusty, though, I feel like that makes it less likely we're going to see heavy leaning on Coincidence, because the advantage of the Yorick is that it was a last-pick counter-pick that gave him such an advantage in the matchup.
All right, so the Gragas is going to be the first ban. That's going to be at least a follow-up there by Atlando. We did see the Akali actually make it through in the last game, and it just wasn't enough, so maybe it gets left open. I still think it's a very oppressive matchup. I think they just fell really far behind and they just couldn't do anything on that Akali. So let's see what they decide to do here. That's going to be the Diana ban. We did see that versus Legions yesterday when he was playing the Victor and he got turbo camped. That's the only way I can describe it. He just got camped so much, but he still turned a lot of those like kind of camps and ganks in his favor, or didn't give up too much from them. Yeah,
interesting to see the Gragas ban as well. Obviously, if you're playing a mage, it can be difficult going up against explosive casts that you knock them into you. Also denies any chance of a Gragas Yasuo combination, which if Legions wants to play something similar to the Victor, you don't want to be going up against that Riven. Going to be banned away likely from Andreas, so a lot more targeted bans coming out from Dusty, which is the tendency when you're on blue side, red side. It's more about banning away just pure power picks. But blue side, you can be a little bit more targeted as to what you don't want to deal with because you have priority on this first pick to take something strong. Senna available, being a pretty popular first pick for a lot of teams. There's also the option of MF as an alternative. basically choice of these AD carries. But Syndra makes a lot of sense with the flexibility of the champion. If they opt to lock that in, it can be played by Legions, but it can also be put down into the bot lane.
That's the first Syndra we've seen here in the Nordic Championship as well. Like I said, nice and flexible. It does feel like something that would be in Legion's wheelhouse, but going to be a quick lock-in here from Atlando as they get the Braum and they get themselves onto that Lee Sin.
Yeah, so Braum obviously can do a lot against a Syndra because you can block a ton of her burst damage from her ultimate. Also means if they do want to pick one of these AD carries like the Senna or the Aphelios, you have a support that works in tandem with it. But the problem is Dusty now have choice in terms of AD carries, and Braum, if you pick an engaged support into Braum, there's limitations to it, but there are options to deal with it pretty effectively. Thresh is a decent matchup into the Braum. Jarvan going to come through for the side of Dusty, so Legions won't have to deal with that threat. And also, if Atlando do go for that immobile AD carry, there's going to be the threat of the Cataclysm locking them in place.
All right, what do Dusty want to kind of round out their first ban with 8 seconds left on the clock?
I feel like
most likely looking for the AD carry.
Not necessarily. I feel like AD carry gives away the flex of the Syndra.
True.
So I think you take the Leona here. It gives you a lot of engage. It's a good combination with the Syndra, but it also doesn't necessarily tell what you're going to do with regards to where that Syndra is going. On the other side, Atlando considering potentially going for the Yasuo. They won't have the Gragas Yasuo combo. If they did go in that direction, actually go for a Jinx.
Okay, I like this.
So a lot of range on a Jinx, is a mobile, similar to these other AD carries that are currently in the meta, but a lot of AoE damage.
They did change Jinx recently, and now you get excited from towers going down. Now, it sounds small.
No, they already got it from towers.
Oh, what was it?
Dragon and Baron.
That's the one. Yes, yeah, sorry.
So it's a little bit of an advantage in that regard, because if you're doing a neutral,
if you're fighting around the pit, it goes down. Yeah.
Yeah, but often... I mean, yeah, if you turn off it, you have that advantage, but remains to be seen. It's an interesting pick either way into the Jarvan. The traps can obviously be good for providing an extra element of peel in that regard, but quickly seeing bans from Atlando.
More flex bans.
Yeah.
I mean, the Lucian anyway.
Well, the Lucian and LeBlanc, both strong mid laners. That can put a lot of pressure. I feel like this suggests to me that Atlando are going to blind pick their mid in this situation. Top laners being banned away by Dusty. Ornn, a pretty safe blind. This is leaning pretty heavily towards Jacob taking a safe mid. Although, I could be wrong, because Lucian and LeBlanc are also strong blinds. So, counterpick could come in here and...
What?
Okay, interesting one. So, we've seen a lot of supports played in solo lanes. The big ones we've seen are Soraka.
Yes, okay, cool. I'm following you.
So, Nami coming in here. I guess it's something of the same. I don't think Nami's as good as Sona and Soraka in a solo lane, but I guess we'll see.
I thought they'd save their top pick for a counter pick into Coincidence. That's going to be the Senna, because Coincidence was the one that honestly made Dusty's game last time in the last game. So now they're thinking about what they're going to pick up here for Coincidence in this top side of the map. And he might just look for some engage. He might look for some split push. We don't know. We'll see what he decides to lock in.
I think so far Dusty's got a really well-rounded composition. I mean, they have the Syndra and they have the Leona bot lane. No, sorry, they have the Syndra mid, they have the Leona and the Senna bot lanes. There's a lot of strength there. They have the Jarvan, which is obviously going to make life hell for the Jinx. They have the Gangplank, a great top laner who can also ult down. I think these are all extremely strong picks in the current meta from Dusty. It's a well-rounded composition. There's aspects of late game. There's aspects of early aggression. They've come out of the draft, I've got to say, pretty happy. Atlando, this is a little bit of a wild card.
Mate, just pick a Lulu mid, play everything in the Jinx basket. Let's go. I
mean, the problem with that is that, sure, if you keep the Jinx alive, you can do a lot, but the limitation is going to be, they're going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at the Jinx. And it's going to be the Nami mid for Jacob, and it's going to be the Vladimir top. So I don't really know what to take of this. I haven't seen a Nami mid before. I'm going to assume that it can scale quite well if you go in full AP in terms of giving heals to your team. Also, the change that they did make is that spells can now be buffed by her E. So you get the extra damage in the slow. That works pretty well with Vlad. If you go in and get a massive AoE, it applies to all of them. The slow applies as well. But I'm not sure how well that's necessarily going to work out, because it's going to be so easy to kill that Nami in mid lane with a Syndra and a Jarvan. Top lane, Vlad has a decent matchup into the Gangplank, but it's a Gangplank. He's going to scale well anyway. And bot lane, they are limited a little bit into the Braum. It's hard to be super aggressive, but you have a Senna. You're completely fine with that. And again, in the later stages, all you need to do is Jarvan ult the Jinx. You have that great Senna Gangplank combo where you can use both ults together, and it's just going to chunk Jinx out the fight. I mean, yeah, sure, they have the Nami who can heal up again, but I don't know. It's a spicy draft coming out from Atlando. I think Dusty on paper definitely have the edge and have come out with a really well-rounded composition.
I feel if Dusty get ahead, I generally don't think Atlando can do anything. Like their comp, if they get ahead, actually could be fairly interesting, quite explosive. But if Dusty just get ahead, like what is a Nami who's behind going to really offer her team apart from an R? You know, Jinx, we know she wants to hit late game. She wants to kind of hyperscale. If you also fall behind and everyone whose job is to keep you alive is also dead, then
I can tell you
like
one
useless.
thing. This is definitely a Morale-Nomicon game.
Yeah.
Or at least some sort of healing reduction from someone, because there's a lot of healing coming out. Overall, yeah, I think clearly Atlando have gone for some cheese here. Clearly they've gone for something a little bit out there with regards to the Nami. We've seen the Soraka. I think that makes a lot of sense. We've seen that there has been Sona top in solo queue played quite a bit, where you can you go the spell thief side him and you just roam. You only really stay top for the XP. But in terms of, I haven't seen a Nami top. We'll have to see how it plays out is all I can really say. But I feel like if I was Dusty, all I do is just hard force around mid lane, kill the Nami countless times, and then see how that goes.
Well, game number 3 is afoot here in the Nordic Championship. Dusty versus Atlando. We have a Nami bit mid. It's all about sushi today.
Well, if you're from Dusty's side, absolutely.
Oh, I don't want Dusty sushi. Our league ops smiled at me when I said that. That's all that matters.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
This is why the Nami got picked, for the spam in lane.
Yeah,
you get into their mind, you get into their head to start the game out.
I mean, I'm assuming Jacob's been practicing, because there is a pretty high skill cap on Nami. Like, one of the issues is that because her bubble, the timing on it, the way it works is, I mean, regardless of where you place the bubble, if it's right on top of you or it's at max range, there's the same amount of time before it hits the ground. So the timing is pretty tricky to balance when someone's on top of you, if Jarvan's up in your face in order to land it. And a max range bubble is pretty hard to hit unless someone's already slowed. But if Jacob can land these pretty consistently, there's going to be some high impact. The AP ratio is decent on it as well.
And for anyone who's been watching the Nordic Championship for a little while, you'll know this is the second invade we've had.
Yeah, not too many invades, but opting to go for this on the back of the Braum.
Spotted out on a ward, though.
A lot of strength in that champion. And this does mean that Atlando could go for a pretty heavy map split here, where they put all their focus around the bot side.
Go on, Jilbull, flash the wall.
I think this would be a smart decision considering how focused they need to be on getting this Jinx ahead. If Jinx is strong, then the composition has an opportunity to work. If Jinx is behind, then essentially the Nami and the Braum are supporting someone who's just not going to be putting on the damage.
Well, just an instant response here. Is Derek going to be able to pick up the red buff himself? Only actually coming through to contest. Didn't get the steal off there, but gets himself a bit of a stun, has an aftershock to work with. And big Krug taken, but not much more. He's just going to have to peel away towards his blue side of the map.
Yeah, the little tiny Krugs, once you've broken them again, aren't worth that much, but he does lose a decent amount from that camp. So good from only 35 just to force him away. Jilbu's going to return to his own side of the map. I'm interested to see how this Nami's doing, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll have a little look up. For anyone who hasn't watched us in our home region, you may not know, he likes to mention this a lot, but Orcs is actually a ex-support player for XL. Yes, that LEC team. He never went to the LEC with them.
Yet.
Yes. So expect lots of dynamic discussion on how Nami mid works, because he knows every support like an absolute master. You can see here, if that was you playing an army, you would have dodged that Scatter the Weak and actually turned to the fight versus Legions.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you can just sustain through the damage. The limitation's going to be the mana pool, but you have TP to get back through. I like the minion dematerializer. It means that later on your bubble might just cut through the minions, but the problem is if you use your bubble up, that's your CC, that's your peel. Whereas with Soraka, just being able to use her Starfall consistently to clear through waves is why I feel like that champion works a little bit better. I'm interested to see. He's holding up well in terms of CS. He's shoving the wave pretty well, I think. Oh,
actually, this could just be him dead. Nope, Jobble slides over. He actually stole away a chicken there. Derek, he might just try and get himself...
Derek.
That's what I'm calling him now.
Derek.
It's Derek.
Okay, Derek it is.
How do you say it?
I'm assuming the Q's silent. Is it Dakray?
Yeah. We'll have to get some information on that, as Derek has found out Jolbu.
I think,
actually,
with only 35 here, I mean, Fred's joined as well.
Fred's stacking up those concussive blows, actually. Only 35 is going to get stunned. 4. First of the 80 carries to move over, gets that zap off. 4 has to flash, and Derek has to jump over the wall.
Yeah, Nami's there first, so Jacob able to rotate. Legions has consistently kept the wave at this point, and there is no way that Nami outpushes the Syndra. Syndra, by all means, has the better wave clear, but I think this is very much putting Jacob into an uncomfortable position. And you can see Jolbu has to spend all of his time mid lane to cover the Nami, because if he moves away for just a split second, it's so easy for Dakray to walk in and just kill the Nami. Now, this position is not a good one.
Oh, that's going to be everything led on. Jacob has got the flash. He's able to clear the wall, but Derek just goes after him. Gets the heal off. They're actually sustaining through so much here. Bubble goes wide. Ooh. The orb is not enough. And Jolbu, he actually might just be able to turn this. Flash forward and first blood. Legions is out of mana. Does get a scan of the week off in time, but Jolbu just chases for more. He's got the shields. He's got the heals, but he's not going to go for the kill. What a turnaround by Atlando.
Nami mid, there you go. It's just so hard to kill with that extra healing. I thought it'd be pretty easy to do. I think my concern there is I think Dakray misplayed it a little bit. He went for the EQ combo when Jacob was already stunned. I think you just should have started hitting him with your auto attacks, waited for him to flash over the wall, and then followed with the flag combo. And I think as a result, just didn't have any mobility left at the end. Jacob ended up healing enough that he could bait them into it, and they just ended up turning it around.
Solid stuff there from Jolbu. Legions has to return back to the lane. Did see a base come out by Jacob. Actually, I don't think he's base yet. I need to double check that. But looks like they're just going to catch this wave here for the moment. Yes, he has based.
Dakray coming in top. Andreas overextended a little bit here.
Does that pull, does her flash. It's very hard to make this stick. Gets himself the slow. Actually, no pull comes out. Actually throws out the ulti, the Hemo Plague. Some barrels to work with. The Cannon Barrage to follow. Hemo Plague tick will heal him up in the last second. Legions roams upwards with his jungle to try and see if they can make something happen, but they're unable to.
Yeah, good rotation coming out from Legions. Andreas, a little bit of a misplay on the pull timing to not avoid the CC, but overall, they managed to punish the Vladimir for overextending a bit. Legions just able to return to lane. Now 10 CS behind, though, because of the skirmish that happened earlier, and also that roam up top. And now with the priority achieved, so obviously there are no Jarvans on the top side of the map. They saw Legions move up and now has to walk back and catch the wave. Atlando just able to pick up this dragon pretty free.
Yeah, with the help of Jacob as well. It's a fairly healthy one. Fennel Drake will get picked up here by Atlando. Dakray has been very active on the map with the ganks, but these objectives are now going to start to bleed out. He's been invaded quite a lot by Jolbu. Jolbu is pulling ahead. You look at that CS deficit at the moment.
Legion's now 6, though, has the ultimate available in the blue buff. They're looking for Jacob, who has no flash. He's going to walk up here.
He's going to throw the bubble as well. That's the CC down. He has level 6 if he looks for the tidal wave, but that's the unleashed power. That's Legions finding the kill, and the tidal wave comes through way too late.
That's what we were looking for. They don't manage to land the Jarvan CC, but the damage from the Syndra is there, and Legions lands every single skill shot. Easy pickings on the Nami.
Easy as pie. Wave crashing in here on the top side. Bot side as well. Legion's doing a good job just to clear out this wave. He's going to try and deny as much CS. He's actually going to get himself a plate here as well. That one is just one auto attack away.
This is the point where I feel like Dusty can start to really take over the game. Legions is getting towards his power spikes when he hits a level breakpoint. So at level 9, when his Q's maxed, it does bonus damage thanks to Syndra's passive. Level 11 when he has 2 points in his ultimate. Level 13 when he's maxed his second abilities. These are all big spikes for the Syndra. He's able just to blow up the wave. He has the mana to do so with double Dorans and a Lost Chapter. And so he can just pressure Jacob constantly and then move around the map and apply that pressure elsewhere with Dakray. So this game is very much looking at Legions to make an impact on the map. He's already in a good position to do so. We'll just have to see how that develops over the game.
Yeah, for now it's just a very slight gold lead in the favor of Atlando with that first blood that Jolbu was able to pick up. Jolbu now actually shifting his attention towards this Rift Herald. He's not ganking as much as Dakray, but he is really playing for these objectives. He wants to try and snowball his team. The question to me is, where is he going to use that? Is he going to try and slap it down in the mid lane and allow him and Jacob to move around the map as almost like a second support with a carry? Or is he going to try and get someone like Andreas ahead, who we know is going to be one of those kind of late game and team fighting insurances for his team?
Yeah, but Jacob might be in trouble here. Still flashless. And you can see Jackery waiting with the Cataclysm available. If he loses this,
ward.
Does get spotted by that control ward. Means Jolbu's in the area. You can see this happening. So Jacob's safe for now. But I've got to praise Legion's wave positioning consistently. It's always been here. Apart from the times when Jacob was dead and he shoved it in, he's always kept the wave here. And it means Jacob just has to overextend so far to contest it. And that way, there's now a massive CS lead. He has now pushed it in. So that means he's going to be able to rotate towards bot side and apply pressure. There's no vision on the map to sort of counteract this. And then I have 4 members in the bot lane. So it's forcing Thor and Fred pretty far backwards.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of chip damage. A few minions going to be lost here. Already a deficit is starting to form there as Legion's heads back here into the mid lane to catch this wave. Doesn't want to let Jacob get too much here. He wants to hold the wave back to where he had it earlier.
And it just makes things so difficult. Jacob does have flash now again, but you still do not want to be overextending that situation. If the Syndra stun hits, you may have to flash that and then the Cataclysm to follow. And yeah, it's just a repeated story. Legion's catching the wave of that position, and then he has the wave clear. If he ever needs to find, if he ever finds himself in a situation where he needs to rotate, very easy to do so.
Then if play comes in, Dakray looking for that flag and drag, but the traps get placed very hard to find that opening onto the Atlando bot lane. Fred even stops the base as well, so they know the Jolbo's about. If they can find a play, maybe Thor's going to be the one they're going to try and gift this gold over to. Waiting for that base to finish up here, and maybe have a man advantage in the bot side.
You don't have the numbers, but no sweeper available to know if Jolbu can walk through without being seen on a ward. Darkray's reset. Now can just head over towards mid. Once again, he can just look for Jacob. Try and punish him once more.
Bot lane's playing fairly safe. There's a ping saying they're on the way down there. So it looks like Dakray may just like try and shift his way down to see if he can make something happen. Jolbu playing with a lot of patience here towards his bot side, because he has farmed up quite a lot, so he can waste a little bit of time because he's got a bit of a lead over Dakray. And if he can get this Rift Herald down and look to snowball 4, he's going to be very, very happy. Fred jumps forward, throws out the Glacial Fissure.
Dodge.
Doesn't quite get it, but the Solar Flare comes down. The traps to follow. That's going to be the Twin Shadows coming down. Jolbu has to jump away. The Rift Herald has already been summoned, and he's going in for the slow. They flash forward. Hoyes gets himself a kill, but in comes the backup onto Jarvan. Super Mega Death Rocket doesn't quite find his mark, and 4 gets pinned inside the Cataclysm. Jolbu just jumps towards the Herald. He is way too low. There is nothing he can do here as the tower shot will come down, and Dakray finds a double kill.
Such great play from Dusty's bot lane. Hoyes with that sidestep on the brawl mode consistently landed the damage, and then he flashes in for the kill. It looks a little bit dire, but Dakray closes the gap with a flag and drag and then flashes to land the CC on a Thor. Honestly, just impeccable play altogether coming out from them. Love to see it. Unfortunately, Legions did attempt to TP, but was cancelled by Jacob. He used a tidal wave for that, but he wasn't even needed. Dusty just managed to handle that entire gang from Atlando with just 3 members.
But starting to go a little bit wrong, a little bit pear-shaped across the board. We're going to have ourselves a Cloud Drake as our soul.
You do kind of expect it, though. You're playing a Nami in the mid lane up against a Syndra. It's expected that they're going to have more control of that area. It's unfortunate what happened bot lane, because that isn't necessarily a given. They try to force a little bit too hard. But if they can get at the later stages, Vladimir will be strong. Jinx is going to have a lot of support. I do think they're going to have issues dealing with Dusty's team composition. They have a lot of tools to handle the Jinx. But there is definitely an avenue where, when grouped together, Atlando could potentially find advantages if the Jinx is able to start getting resets. But so far, Dusty looking great.
Yeah, actually not going in for the rotation here. The barrel will get thrown down 4. We'll get this plate. Key thing to note from that Rift Herald, no one got the plate gold. It got placed down, but the fight was breaking out and everybody peeled upwards. That's just lost gold, wasted plates almost. And Poison only, they shift to this top side of the map. Now, it is a Vladimir up here, so he should be pretty comfortable holding the wave.
Yeah, it's really difficult to contest this wave with the Gangplank. He has a ton of wave clear. Jinx is clearing out the barrels pretty effectively, but they won't get the tower on this wave. Obviously gets tanky as it gets lower down, and Dusty, they know there's no reason to be on the bot side of the map right now. They've already put their priority towards the top side with the Dragon being unavailable. They're looking to make Vladimir's life difficult. And Vladimir, a lot harder to play this weak side. Yes, having the pool makes it difficult to die, but your wave clear really is lacking. You can see Andreas already has to back off. And despite the fact bot lane tower was initially lower, Dusty are going to be able to answer in the top side. The tower has been given a bot. Engage.
Goes for the kick. That's going to be the unleashed power. Tidal Wave only locks up one in Legions. Just slays Jolbu. Just a real scattered comms coming through.
Yeah, I think this was a pretty heavy assumption coming from Atlando. They must have assumed because Hoyes and only 35 are playing so aggressive, they have no vision control on the top side. There's a great spread of wards coming out and that deep control ward from Dusty. They must have assumed Jarvan's on the top side of the map. And as a result, Jolbu felt like he was safe to contest that camp. And he wasn't. He got caught out, punished for it. Now, the bot lane of Atlando is coming over to defend that tower. And because they've already taken the bot lane tower, they did slightly trade up in terms of structures, but still down in gold in the end of that.
Jacob making his way up. There's teleport coming down from the Vladimir, just making sure Andreas can get here in time. He's actually going in for the full all-in. He's got the Protobell, he's got the Hemo Plague. Quinton just has to flash away. Andreas chases him into Bloodpool, but down comes the Dawning Shadow.
I like the attempt from Andreas. He's trying to find something. He knows he has this spike with the Protobell, but a good move from Legions and the ult from Hoyce there as well to ensure that the Gangplank does not go down. Legions now level 11. Another one of those big spikes you talked about. 2 points in the ultimate. A lot of targeted burst damage now. Zachary's looking for something on a Thor. No flash.
Worth the flash. Away there. Concussive blows are going to stack up. In comes Jolbu, flashes away, gets the kick off. That's a lot of damage. Zachary goes golden for the moment. And now the Tidal Wave comes through. A shutdown onto 4. He's starting to reset here. Only is caught in the middle of everyone. And the concussive blows are going to stack up. But Hoyes is able to get himself another one. Jacob will be next on the menu.
Done.
4 has to flash away. Massive cleanse comes out by 4 to keep him alive. But overall, Dusty, they come up on top of the fight. Yeah,
Atlando thought they were going to be able to find the momentum in that, but unfortunately, a flanking Nami is not what Atlando needed to find the advantage there. And Legion's just crushing the team fight as per usual. Good stopwatch from Dakray overall. Dusty able to get that tower on the top side and a bunch of kills on top of that. Their goal lead now, 3,500. They're in a pretty comfortable position. And it's got me asking, at what point is this Nami going to come online?
Also, during that last fight, 4 did not have his items. Yeah, during that last fight, he was fighting with a BS sword and a pickaxe. He's now gone to base, bought the Infinity Edge and the crit vest. So he's the crit cloak, sorry. So he's got a little bit more to him, but even so,
I think that's a limited thing, because when you saw him get that first reset, it was like, you know, this is go time, but we didn't have the damage to back it up. Cheaper items for Hoyes on this Senna. And also the fact that Senna has so much utility on top of just her raw damage, whereas Jinx is very much just a raw damage champion.
Yeah. You see the makings of that Morello Nomicon by Andreas there? He wants to cut through some of the healing available to them. Both of these teams have a fair amount of sustain innately built into them as the next Rift Herald is going to go down.
Could well just be for the penetration right now. Obviously the healing, there is healing on the Gangplank with the oranges, so if you get them low, that can deny that. But I think it's more just for the Magic Pen combined with the Sork Shoes. Unfortunately, X-Drinker from Quinstance is going to mitigate that a bit, and he knows he just has to hold on in the side lane. This Vladimir, Andreas, is pretty farmed up, though. This is a signature pick of this. This is something he will default to.
Yeah. And with Cloud Soul being the option of the soul here, if Atlando can actually get that, they're going to be very happy. Like a Vladimir with Cloud Soul, a Jinx with Cloud Soul, so nice.
Yeah, I mean, the movement speed is absolutely... I mean, for either side, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, kind of awkward for Jarvan because he has like loads of movement speed and he's just running in a circle inside his characters.
Means you can avoid the bubbles pretty easily.
True.
But for Syndra, you can press the ultimate. The movement speed can be used to disengage or go further. It's great for Gangplank, great for the Leona as well to follow up on a long-range ult. Cloud Soul can make a big impact. It's not the raw stats you tend to see from the other Dragon Souls, but movement speed can go a long way, especially against these champions who don't have dashes built into their kits. Riftall's gonna be thrown down mid. They're looking to break down this mid lane tower. Bot lane are there to respond.
Yeah, should be able to pick this up. Legions. Get some kill onto Jacob. Jacob.
Nami not
I
working
respect what you were trying, but it didn't work, buddy.
Red team's turret has been destroyed.
So it's going to go down. They actually do jump in. He actually gets stunned up by the concussive blows. That's going to be the Glacial Fissure. Solar Flare to follow up. Dawning Shadow does a lot of damage. A massive Cataclysm. Dakray just pins everybody in place. Fred and Jolbu forced to run away. Fred has no flash. He is going to go down. And that's only 35 to pick himself up a kill. 11-2 on the scoreboard. Dusty are looking so strong right now.
And it's the power of the center. As soon as someone lands CC on the enemy AD carry, you can just pop that ult. You can easily follow up with a ton of damage. Thor, before the Jarvan even got to him, was already so low on HP. And Dusty, this game doesn't even look difficult for them.
Question to me is, how cleanly can they close this out? Got 6,000 gold lead at the moment. They have a mid laner at the moment.
Yep, that's a big difference. Legion's been playing this one really well, and I'd love to know the thought process behind the I mean, the movement speed's nice. That scales with the AP.
Yeah.
You obviously have a lot of zone control, but I think into the Syndra as well, I think it's a rough matchup for a lot of champs. I don't think Nami is necessarily the one that was going to hold up.
It's
and
really
like,
on Andreas.
It felt like Atlando went to this direction pretty early on, because they picked the Jinx. They clearly went, okay, we're going to pick Jinx. We're going to pick champions to facilitate that.
But really, like the Soraka's just better. And that was open. I don't know, man.
I still think if you look at how Soraka's been sort of utilized by Wonder, it was specifically in situations where he's in a relatively safe matchup. Jarvan, Syndra, for a lot of champions, is a hard matchup. But either way, it's definitely had a rough start. Dusty have a massive advantage here.
Red's getting knocked out. Concussive blows could stack up here, but they're not going to find it.
And we've seen huge item spikes come in. The front line of Dusty, both of them have stone plates now, so they're going to be able to engage and withstand a ton of damage. Grievous Wounds have come in. We have the Executioner's Calling from Quinston, with the Morellonomicon from Legions. It's just very hard to see a situation where Atlando win the fight unless they stall for a lot longer, or someone just completely mispositions. And right now, it really looks like Atlando the ones potentially open to mispositioning.
It's weird because we're seeing Jacob actually picking up the GLP as his item. He went for Meteor in lane. Like, I actually feel if he'd just gone Glacial Augment on this Nami, then
I mean,
he could have gone.
It still works well with the Glacial Augment, because it sets you up. I mean, sorry, with the Meteor, because it sets you up, gives you a lot of trading power. I think GLP doesn't necessarily have to be taken with Glacial Augment, even though the items do have good synergy. By the way, a lot of attention being put from Dusty on the top side. Only 35 just reset here to restock his wards. They're going to try and keep establishing this control, and Legions is free to push in heavily on that top side, and that allows them to break through more of this red side jungle. It's sometimes very deep to force further in the red side jungle and break through these warding lines, particularly in the brush near the Raptors. But by Legions being supported here by Dakray, allows
Other wave goes down. They're actually looking. A stun does connect, followed up by the bubble here. Looks like they're going to have to get 1-4. Able to pick it up. Cannon Barrage comes out as well. Legions looking for his opening. Four's being run down. He's being locked down and taken out. Only finds the kill. The Unleashed Pass kills another one. So 1 for 2.
It looked like a good play on the opener. They managed to find Dakray, but just unable to walk through that top lane when Legions is standing there. They had to respect him, and that meant Poison only 35 had an opportunity to pincer and shut them down.
I think that play was them thinking that Dakray wasn't there and they could get a quick pick onto Legions, get that shutdown gold, but they didn't expect the Jarvan to be there. So as soon as they jump forward, there's a Jarvan who just CCs and locks them down. Buys the time for Legions to get away. He also landed a fantastic scatter of the week onto Jacob, which means Legions can't be followed up onto by Jacob, and he just has to walk away.
Yeah, overall, the attempt was there. Atlando trying to get back in this game, but it just wasn't to happen. 6,000 is now the goal lead. Third dragon spawning soon. I feel like Dusty, there's no real pressure. I know there are scaling elements to Atlando. There's the fear of the Jinx late game in the Vladimir, but Dusty's composition is solid in the later stages.
I want to see some work from him, but at the moment that's not going to be enough. Jolbu is going to almost get caught out. Gus gets caught by the stun on the tail end there. A lot of damage coming out from Legion so far. He's got the Morellas, he's got that Echo. They've got the Vladimir about. I think this is the time to fight. Jinx, 70% crit as well. That great inside the pit. And it actually just looks like Atlando, they don't want to contest. They don't want to try. They're going to step away. And how much more can they afford to give up? Cloud Soul is the next up if Dusty can get it. Teleport's being used as well. Andreas playing so greedy. He knew they were doing Dragon. He knew they were there. He had to farm. He wanted to farm, but then he had to TP out. So now that's a massive tool down to them. Coincidence is going to have that advantage, plus his ultimate as well, so he doesn't even need to join the fight.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he was doing there. I just really questioned it. 3 Dragons now picked up for Dusty. Honestly, they're in a position where they can just keep playing at this pace. They don't need a hard force. They can wait for the Dragon Soul. Coincidence and Legions are both extremely strong. Hoys, I mean, everyone on the side of Dusty is really strong at this point. And it's just very difficult to see an avenue where Atlando get back in the game. Baron could potentially be a throw. If they start Baron, if they get their HP low, a good tidal wave followed up by Andreas and Thor could turn the game around. That's probably the only avenue by which they lose the game. So I think they're going to keep running with this 1-3-1. Legions, no one can really challenge him in the side lane. If they try and collapse onto him, then Dusty will ensure he has cover. And in the bot lane, Coincidence, he's just self-sufficient.
The buff's going to get picked up. Hoy's the one to get it. Winter's Point will spot out only 35. Because maybe now they're looking for that fight. But remember, no teleport available to Andreas. And he's in the bot lane, dealing Coincidence, pushing away.
Yeah, you wouldn't win that fight anyway. But when your most fed member's not there, it's really concerning. So they've started the Baron up, no vision on it. Fred's going to go get a ward. But a reset just came in from Julbu and Thor. He's nowhere. Baron's gone. Ward's coming down, so they have to bluff this. They have to bluff this and make Dusty assume that the jungler's over the wall because they don't want a 50-50.
I mean, the fact there's been no kicks thrown out, it probably gives it away. But
there
is getting close enough. Cannon Barrage is going to come down. Solar Flare to follow. Jobu lands the kick. Jumps in, is unable to steal it away. He's going to go golden, but he is going to be picked up nice and simple. Andreas now has to try and find something to turn it back around, but he's jumping into the middle of free. Only he's able to get his way out now. Andreas, with the Hero Plague, he's going to get taken down.
Great stopwatch.
And that was a fantastic stopwatch indeed. Dusty running away with a fight, running away with the Baron, and they're looking to run away with the game.
Dusty were holding off on the Baron because they were concerned that Lee would take it. They didn't know he wasn't there, but they completely dominated that team fight. There were some attempts coming in. Dusty just crushing this game. It's looking really hopeless.
Element of confusion for me is Coincidence has built the Jaguar's Fist. He's already got the Hex Drinker, which means
at this point it really doesn't matter. The game's going to be over before it finishes.
You can't stack those items. Well, you can buy both of them, but if you buy Asterix, not going to really get much here. He's he's doing a lot of damage. Gets himself a shutdown. Now they're looking for Dakare. Missing out on that. Very, very close. That's a big shutdown. Now the Insect coming in by Jobu. Actually, Insect the wrong person away. Zenith Blade is going to go wide, but the bubble does connect. Concussive Blow stacking up, and that's going to be a shutdown. Oh, my Lord. Jinx gets traded out. Thor is down. But he is getting some gold in his pocket.
Yeah, got a lot of shutdowns, a lot of gold, but you can see, honestly, it was a great attempt from Joel with a dash to the side to avoid the stun, then the flash kick. But unfortunately, Legion just managed to, walk away, and he kicked the Leona. I can understand it got to the point where Legions was in a position, if he kicked him, you'd end up kicking him away. So he had to go for the Leona, but a bit of an unfortunate one. And then Thor just gets exploded. He did have his flash available, so could have used that. But I think at that point, it probably is better just to hold on to your flash, because if you lose your flash in this situation against the Jarvan, you're just going to instantly die in the next fight. You got a ton of gold. You stop Dusty's push. You're happy with that. The next big objective on the cards is going to be that Dragon Soul for Dusty, the extra movement speed coming in from the Cloud. But you can see Thor's starting to really kick things off on this Jinx. He's starting to do a lot more damage. He has his 3 crit items. If he starts getting resets, if he's buffed by Jacob, there is some potential, but he's still 5 levels down on Legions. It's not good. It's just there's something.
They're looking to farm some shutdowns onto him. They were looking for Legion's 700 gold shutdown. That would have been so big for 4, but they were unable to find that. And for now, he is going to still be pretty threatening. He's got that Runan's Hurricane. He's got the Rapid Fire Cannon along with the Infinity Edge. 75% crit, a lot of range to work with, and a lot of AoE damage from those rockets.
What makes
these fights kind of scary. Bubble comes out by Jacob. They're actually going to use the tidal wave here. Does connect into one. In goes the ultis. Everything's being layered down already. Atlando have been able to trade their support out. Actually dying there's Andreas. Almost dying to Coincidence, but not quite dying yet. The push into this tower in this mid lane is going to come down 4. Looking to get collapsed onto here, but he's going to be able to peel away slowly. Inhibitor turret will fall though. Now it looks like Dusty are just going to try and take this inhibitor. Oh, the damage coming out though. Four's doing a lot. He's out of mana though, unfortunately now. So he's only got a few rockets left. Only just about survives and gets out. Now Coincidence, he's going to be able to take a turret as well. Inhibitor in the mid lane falls. Inhibitor in the bot lane exposed. And Drake is up. This could be Cloud Soul for Dusty. It's going to be really, really big for them.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be able to take this one. Extra movement speed. Definitely a big asset when trying to chase down this Jinx.
Next up, the Elder.
And that's one, I mean, the Baron's going to spawn first. That may well be the hill Atlando choose to die on. If it does come to the Elder, they have to contest that one. Yes, Jinx is looking strong, but everyone on Dusty is just looking really difficult to deal with. He'd catch up one level towards where Legions and Coincidence are, but that's one of the things. There's still, despite just the goal differential between them, there's still this massive level disadvantage as well, which makes things so difficult.
See, Four's picked up the Hex Drinker, looking to deal with Legion's burst damage. Doesn't go for the Phantom Dancer. Wants him for that early magic shield.
So the 80 carries are actually even in gold right now, thanks to all those shutdowns. But there's still a massive disadvantage compared to the Gangplank and the Syndra. The Gangplank isn't really joining all these team fights, so it's not as much of a factor. But that Syndra, Legion's absolutely monstrous on this pick. He's had control for minute 1. And if he just presses R onto Thor, it's likely even through the Hex Drinker, Thor will go down. So we're going to have to play this one really safe.
We're looking to just push out this top side of the map. You can see Andreas dealing with the Gangplank shove. He's got Proto Belt, he's got the Void Staff, and then Morello Nomicon, so there's a lot of penetration available to him. Atlando, they want to fight, but they don't know if they can.
And this is the issue, you have the Banshees on Legions and the Edge of Night on Hoys, so you have to burn those before you can try and look for a good engage. Coincidence, actually just going to get this inhibitor. Andreas moved over to try and join for a fight.
They're going to clear this out.
They're just being spread thin. They're moving back and forth, constantly trying to adjust for the pressure from the Gangplank. He's likely just going to be able to get this inhibitor, or if they try and defend this, they'll lose top lane tower.
They're holding fast for the moment. But with Baron Nashor spawning up in 30 seconds time, how long can they hold? It's Coincidence doing his best just to keep the pressure up in this bottom side of the map here. Rotation's out by Dusty now. They're moving down, and maybe they're looking to look for Coincidence, but Jobu, there's no way he can contest.
Yeah, Baron's just going to go. If they're just accepting they're going to defend the base. It's going to get even harder now that Dusty have this Baron. More XP, more gold, but more importantly, that Baron buff. Look at the minions. Super Mega Death Rocket coming in to try and contest, but it's a small chance.
It's a very small chance indeed. Now, what this forces is obviously Baron's nice for the obvious reasons, but a kind of almost hidden reason here is now Atlando realize they have to contest the next push because they will just slowly bleed out. They were already bleeding out before the Baron buff was a problem. Now that's a problem. There's going to be some desperation plays, which means Dusty can now just exploit that by forcing them into an unfavorable fight, or they just force them to bleed out. It's such a win-win here for Dusty. But you do worry what Atlando are going to be able to do. The Maw gets finished up by 4. Doesn't want to finish like a full item. He doesn't want to kind of leave that and then finish his next crit item or something like that.
I think
he just needs as much as he can to keep himself in this game.
It's just Syndra can just blow him up so quickly. Even through the Maw, I don't feel confident for him, but it may give him the avenue to survive. And obviously, once it's procced, you get that extra lifesteal. Right now, Atlando are turtling in their base. They're pushing a bot lane as a 4-man. They put Coincidence on the top side. He will eventually take that tower if he's left his own devices against Andreas. Right now they're pushing up here. The engage is not great from Atlando. Nami and Braum are not exactly strong, engaged champions. Jolbu's trying to look for something, but with the Banshees and the Edge of Night on those carries, very hard to pull off.
Incredibly hard. Look, they're just playing that bleed you out style. They lose a turret in the top side. Andreas constantly looking to try and rotate around. That's going to be Fred caught inside the Cataclysm. A flash out by 4. The tidal wave does go down and get the concussive blows off before misses out on the zap. He gets jumped onto, knocked up, and he will be taken down nice and easy. A pickup for Jackrae. Now they're jumping in for more. Jolbu jumps back towards the base. Does get himself a nice little shutdown there. But you still got Coincidence. You still got Hoys. You've still got the Baron buff to work with. And it's just going to be Jacob. It's just going to be Andreas and Jolbu to defend. They don't have the wave clear to deal with this. They don't have the strength to be able to deal with this. As they get the lockdown with the Zenith Blade, it's going to be onto the back line as see Andreas trying to get something off here, but he is going to get taken out by a Baroned up minion. Jacob is locked down. That is going to be seafood on the menu for Dusty. That is going to be the base on the menu for Dusty as they get themselves their win, moving out of week 1.
And I think that's the most one-sided game we've had so far. And I've got to praise particularly Legions on the side of Dusty. Really good control of the lane, constantly applied pressure to the Nami, which, I mean, you're given Syndra in that matchup, so by all means you should do, but he had control of the wave, he kept the Syndra in a difficult position, constantly moved around the map to apply pressure. I think everyone in Dusty was just playing well. They knew exactly what the win condition was. It wasn't the fastest game, but they didn't give many avenues for Atlando to sort of get back into the game. And Atlando, once again, I thought this yesterday with that draft just seemed a little bit disconnected. Yesterday, it seemed like that they were limited in win conditions. It was only really if they could find a pick. Today, it felt like, you know, they get to some late game point where suddenly the Jinx comes online. But, I mean, in comparison to what Dusty had sort of picked for themselves, it was just such a hard uphill battle. And I understand this is a situation where Dusty are one of the stronger teams in the league, so it was always going to be difficult. But I think maybe exploring new avenues, because the Nami really never did anything for me. The Vladimir, I know it's a pick for Andreas, but it inevitably lost in a side lane later against the Gangplank.
Yeah.
And it just felt like they never really had much of a hope other than Thor popping off. And even then, he was so far behind, there was no real avenue.
It just looked very, very scattered by Atlando. Maybe communications were a little bit over the place. We don't know. We weren't there. But unfortunately for them, it does mean they have a 0-2 week. Congratulations to Dusty, though, because what was a heartbreaking loss yesterday has at least turned around, and they're walking away from week 1 with 1 win under their belt. Now, we've still got one more game coming up here in the Nordic Championships, and it is 2 of our strongest teams going head-to-head, Team Singularity and Norvivid. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you for Game 4.